Hey man, welcome back to Man Time. Today's episode, I'm going to be trying to cut up this I-beam, well, W-beam technically, with a plasma cutter, getting the order of operations, getting a measurement, getting a straight line, and actually cutting a straight line. It sounds easy, but it's not. Welcome to Man Time. So cutting a straight line and getting nice straight cuts that match, you know, from this side of the W-beam down to this side of the W-beam, through the web and all the way through, having just a perfectly straight and nice cut. It's easy to say it and hard to do it, I guess you could say. But what I've done, I've taken measurements from one end to where I need to cut, right at 24 feet. Now, I could try to freehand it, and what I did, I took my square, I scribed a line across there, and freehanding with a plasma cutter is pretty difficult, because you're always kind of like fighting through the metal, and I don't know, it's just not easy. Taking this hammer as an example and trying to make a straight line, even though you're following a line, it's still hard. And when that arc strikes, it's bright and, you know, it kind of throws off your eyes. So, ideally, what you want to have is some sort of steady rest or guide. So that's what I've got right here. I've got an end cut of one of the pieces of 3/8 plate. And this doesn't really work that great as a permanent magnet to lift things. But as a way to hold this steady rest in place, you know, just imagine it on this side. Now I've got something where I can butt that torch up against and then just come down. Of course, I already know at this point I've got a 1/2 inch offset from the end of that, well, the guides on that torch to the tip, and accounting for the kerf fallout, it is a 1/2 inch offset. So I know that already. The other problem that you're going to run into is you're going to need the same thing on the inside of this web. Let's zoom in and take a close look at what's happening inside of this web. Alright, so here's a look at the inside of the web, and again, what you're going to want to have is a steady rest, but you're also going to need to make like a straight line from here where you can get a good measurement, and from here where you can get a good measurement, you know, to the end. In here you can do the same thing. I guess in here you can do the same thing. Anyways, but you need to make a straight line then, also across there. And what I did, I measured from the outside of this paint pen to the tip of it, offset that, I think it's about 3/8 of an inch, and then offset that 3/8 of an inch with that square, and came in and drew the line there. Now you might have a little bit of, you know, off and on there, but you can get it pretty darn square doing it that way. That's what I did. This 24-foot piece is not the end-all, be-all of needing to be exactly perfect, so close enough is close enough. It's going to have 6 inches on either side of it of free air, because it's going to be sitting on a 1-foot plate, and I'm just going to weld it down that way. But all right, so next step, you've got your straight line. Now what do you do, right? So we don't need that, we don't need that, don't need our pencil anymore. A good idea that I had would be to clamp. Again, this on the inside, right? I've got it the exact width where if it lays flat, it pretty much gives me a straight line. You know, so you want to come up to your line, again, 1/2 inch offset, and get it lined up, and then clamp it down somehow. So in this case, again, I could try the magnet. If it was sitting with this face up, again, it would be very simple. Just set this down in there and then set the magnet on it, turn the magnet on. But in this case, the magnet handle doesn't come down far enough to where it's actually going to attach. So the alternative then, kind of combining forces here. I initially tried to stick it on with a couple of these magnets that I got from Harbor Freight. So again, line it up there, magnet, magnet, but it doesn't hold. Like the magnets are just not strong enough to be able to magnetize this, you know, and then into this. So next thing was to use some blocks of wood. I had some end cuts from where I did my trailer floor, right? So I've got some additional pieces here. And then, again, you want to make sure your wood is a ways off of where you need to actually make that cut. And then I've got some of these, I think they're called strong arm clamps in some circles. I think I got these from, don't get me lying, Northern Tool maybe. Not exactly sure. But you can take some bits of wood and then get those in there, right? And clamp them down. And what you're going to want to do is then work this into place. Let's see here. First, you're going to want to make sure that it is square in there. And then get it worked into place here. There we go. And then making sure that it's square. And it's going to look something similar to that, unless I can come up with a good way to flip this. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. You know what I may want to do, and just thinking about this, it may be easier if I can have it flipped and have this facing up, get a good measurement there, and then I can probably cut on either side if I didn't have two of them, you know, right next to each other like that. But that's just an idea. If there's no way to flip it and you need to cut a straight line through here, you're going to have to come up with something unless you want to freehand it. And there's an idea for you to do it that way. Okay, well, for a few reasons, I think it's just going to be plain easier to try to cut this. Try to cut this with it laying like this one is, kind of horizontally. So let's try that. There we go. Try to break. I'm trying to flip this thing just being held on the tractor forks. Not as hard as I thought. And then actually holding it is probably going to be easier also. Yeah, this makes more sense. Because I can actually cut, you know, into the sides. Yeah. As long as I can get this one far enough away. Alright, so I've got it turned horizontally. This is, I think, going to be the very best way to do it. I had a line here. I laid my tape in there just to check to make sure my 24-foot mark had transferred over, and it is actually really good transfer of 24. I then have my mark at 24 on this side. I line this up with it, transferred that mark from this side to this side, squared up, and then transferred this over to here, and then made a mark at 24 this way. So I've got marked at 24, marked at 24, marked at 24, and now I can take this, and the nice thing about on the side here, I don't even have to use the magnet. I can just use my strong arm across here to lock it into place, make some little adjustments, and then cut, you know, through the side, and then cutting through the side like that, there's going to be a web in the center, right? So you're going to have to kind of work through that as you get to the center point here. The next part is which order of operations do I want to make these cuts, right? And what I'm thinking is, see, it's supported by 2 jack stands under the 24-foot piece, which then I'm going to have to come in with the tractor. You can see the tractor's gone. I've only got 1 piece of steel now. I'm going to have to make 1 cut and then swap this out for the next piece and do that 4 times to do this. Once I get this 24-foot piece cut, I'm going to set it up here on the trailer. This one is actually not going to need an end cap, right? It's going to be fully supported with 6 inches of additional W-beam right underneath of it that it's just going to sit on and then be welded to. So there's not going to be anything to weld to on this side. Anywho, all right, let's talk about the order of operations for the cuts. So right now it's hanging up in the air. So as it goes to release off of this piece, it's going to want to kick and lay down that way. So I think I'm going to want to cut the middle out first. Do I want to do that? You know, it's going to be tearing this side open. Okay, so I think what I'm going to want to do is come in from the inside down, come in from the inside down. No, I got to cut from the outside in. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start here and come in from the outside in and just do halfway through until I get to this web. Same thing over here, and then once I have that hole punched through, I can come in and work my way down through the middle and out, and then finish off those cuts on either side, and that'll allow it to just fall. Now when it does that, I'm going to want to stand on this side, right? Because this piece severed is now going to kick up. So I'm going to have to be standing over here. Yeah. You got to just think through all this stuff. Keep yourself safe from doing stuff like this, right? So doing this outside, there's definitely some inherent kind of issues, right? I've got to keep the area wet. There's leaves and stuff all over. Luckily enough, it rained all day yesterday. It's supposed to rain again all day tomorrow. Another problem with doing this outside, right? Every bit of tool that I've got sitting outside has now got to move inside as soon as the sun goes down. So I've got a limited time frame to do it and still have time to clean up, all that stuff. But the other thing is, like, the ground is much shorter than the electrode. So, luckily for me, I've got this I-beam laying on this I-beam. I can just ground off to that I-beam, and as soon as I get some air power, I should be able to start making some cuts. Alright, let's do this. I'm running out of time here. Okay, yeah, I blew through. Now I've got clean access there. The other option you have here, sorry if I'm yelling, the other option you have is to, of course, cut this with just a 4.5-inch angle grinder. I've cut much bigger pieces of I-beam with a 4.5-inch angle grinder. Okay, same situation here. I'm going to have slag blowing back this way, but again, I've got that steady rest, and I'm just running a straight line. Okay, so now I've got my two sides cut. Now what I'm going to do is take my steady rest or straight edge, whatever you want to call it here, come down in the middle and magnet it down. Does fit if I do it that way. Good. All right. Keep going. Now I've got a hole down through the bottom. Okay, good deal. Now I've just got here and here, and again, I want to be coming back. I want to be coming back. My last cut is going to be here on this side. I'll get the camera set up so you can see that. Okay, so on this side, nothing's going to happen. I can make my finishing cut here. Thought I felt a little something new. See the problem here? My torch is still going to be cutting this way, so I'm just going to stand clear of it. You'll get a good shot there from where you're at. All right, just that easy. Just that easy. All right, but I mean, good, clean, straight cuts and a nice flush cut. That's going to be the way to go when I transfer this to actually having to be within, again, I'm shooting for within 1/8 of an inch. Let's just go plus or minus a 1/16 of an inch on the uprights, right? Because I want a nice level floor. Okay, next steps in the process. Yeah, I can get this one kind of moved out of the way and then take this one, set it up here also, and then take the long one and get it in place for the next cut. Looks pretty good. All right, man, well, here is a look at the last cut. You can see there my sides were off just slightly from the center cut, and I plan on doing a lot better job with the smaller ones because I can actually rotate them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure, you know, my length here, and then length down the middle, and then I'll be able to square up everything to that same length from the end. Alright, man, well, here is a look at the last cut. You can see there my sides were off just slightly from the center cut, and I plan on doing a lot better job with the smaller ones because I can actually rotate them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure, you know, my length here, and then length down the middle, and then I'll be able to square up everything to that same length from the end.